It's 2021, and the Boston Red Sox took a 2-1 lead early in Game 4 of the ALCS against Houston. Now, this game was eventually tied at 2-2 in the ninth, and then Nathan Eovaldi, with one strike to go, throws a beautiful breaking ball, and Laz Diaz calls it a ball. That led to a absolute outburst of runs for the Astros, and well, the Astros won that series in 6. Now, fast forward to 2025, 4 years later, this team is struggling. They were projected to be a top 10 team, and they're barely sitting above 500. So there was just so many issues, like management issues and behind the field issues, obviously the performance issues, and one of them eventually led to star player Rafael Devers being traded away. And so in today's video, we're going to be talking about a lot of the issues that all just collected up to basically describe the 2025 season that has been a disappointment for the Boston Red Sox. Now, before we jump into this one, just real quick, do want to mention a lot of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so if this is your first video, you keep coming back to my content and you enjoy it, I'd appreciate it if you just hit the subscribe button, like the video, let me know what kind of content you want to see out of me in this YouTube channel. So with that being said, let's hop right into this video on the 2025 Boston Red Sox. There's a lot of ground in many different areas to cover, but we're going to start off with the pitching aspect of this team. The pitchers have been, what I would say, very lackluster for the Red Sox. They obviously did just acquire Garrett Crochet in the offseason, and he's been nothing short of fantastic, but the other pitchers have been disappointing, to say the least, as we'll take a look into how they have performed, comparing to Garrett Crochet. And you look at Crochet's stats this year, he's been nothing short of fantastic. It's been 102 innings pitched, 2.2 ERA, 125 strikeouts to only 28 walks, a 3.3 WAR, and a 1.03 WHIP. That is fantastic. It's what you expect out of Crochet. He's a superstar. He's a franchise guy, and he's going to be doing this for a long time, as he did sign the extension, which we'll get into a little bit. But you look at the rest of the starting pitchers, and that's where I am very concerned. You look at there's 6 guys that have still started a good amount of games for the Red Sox and been like a pure starter. And that would be Brian Bello, however you say it, Hunter Dobbins, Walker Buehler, Lucas Giolito, Tanner Houck, and finally, Richard Fitz, who Richard Fitz will be coming back up as Hunter Dobbins will hit the 15-day IL. But combining their stats together and looking at how those 6 guys compare to one guy on their team, I know he's the ace, he's the superstar, he's the franchise pitcher, but he's one guy. When you compare the stats, it's a little embarrassing. The rest of the starting pitchers have 294 innings pitched, so almost 3 times as many innings, with a 5.02 ERA, 235 strikeouts. Now, that's between 6 people. And Garrett Crochet has 125 himself. He has over half of the 6 people combined. You go at the walks. The 6 guys have surrendered 106 walks, which is lower than Crochet. If you average it down, dividing by 6. And then a minus 1.3 WAR for the 6 pitchers and a 1.44 WHIP. So what exactly has been really the big issue? And the big issue for me is just the other pitchers' abilities to limit home runs, as Walker Buehler's given up 12 home runs this year. He leads the team in 12 home runs allowed. Tanner Houck has allowed 10 home runs in his starts. Obviously, he's still rehabbing, so he'll come back later. And then the next thing you look at is the bullpen, which the bullpen has been a bright spot, I would say, actually. When you look at their stats as a bullpen collectively, they are pretty impressive. A 3.31 ERA, 22 total saves. This is as of before the games on Sunday, June 22nd, so this does not account for that one. They did blow that one. A lot of errors in the field, though, so not all on the pitchers, but 278 strikeouts and only 19 home runs allowed before today, and then 122 WHIP And when you look at where those are ranked in the entire league, actually, it's very impressive. The ERA is actually 5th in the MLB. The saves is tied for 9th. The strikeouts is 11th. The home runs is actually the best. The least amount of home runs given up by a bullpen. And then a 1.22 whip is tied for 6th. So this bullpen's got the stuff, but at the same time, they struggle a lot. And that's when we look into the blown saves. Now, there's been some blown saves for this team this year. There's been a lot of mistakes. The second most blown saves in the MLB with 14. And then Garrett Whitlock with 4. And then Justin Wilson with 3. And a couple other guys with multiple. So there's been a lot of mistakes from the bullpen here. And a lot of bad pitches and bad moments. And just not where you want the ball. And just easy home runs, easy comebacks for other teams, and that's a really big problem is if your bullpen's not on, you're never going to win games, despite how good the Red Sox offense has actually been pretty recently and pretty overall in the year. They're about 6th in runs scored, so they do score a lot of runs, but at the same time, their bullpen is overall been good statistically, but when you watch the games, they do make mistakes in the worst moments. And the last thing defensively is the errors. The errors are just unbearable. They had a lot in the game on Sunday against the Giants, and they lead the MLB with 66 errors. Yes, even more errors than the Colorado Rockies, who have 60 losses, an unbelievable feat to be doing. They need to find a way to just fine-tune the defense because that's a really big problem, especially when your pitching staff is underperforming. Now, obviously, there's two sides of baseball. There's pitching, fielding, and then there's hitting. And that's been a really big problem for them is the hitting. They have, despite having the 6th most runs, they strike out so much. And that is such a issue for this team because with 372 runs, you'd think, that's a good offense. Surely they couldn't really score more. No, they definitely could. So we take a look at it. 730 team strikeouts going into Sunday, June 22nd, which is 3rd most in the MLB. Unbelievable. 3.91 runners in scoring position that are left on base each game. That's also the 3rd most in the MLB. Those are just two by itself insane stats. And the strikeouts, there's only two teams ahead of them, of course, and that would be the Rockies and the other team being the Angels. The runners in scoring position issue is a big issue. 206 strikeouts with runners in scoring position, which is the most in the MLB, and then they have the 9th worst average with a 238 average with runners in scoring position. So the big main issue is the strikeouts. The team is striking out a ton. Trevor Story's having a very rough year. Jarren Duran, after having a fantastic season in 2024, is having a down year. Christian Campbell, who just got optioned to AAA, had been having a rough little stretch. He had a great start to the year, a rough stretch now, and the team just strikes out a ton. I mean, Roman Anthony, the number 1 prospect, only hitting about 141, 121. So the team, Rafaela strikes out a little bit. The team just had a really big issue. And I mean, they had, before they traded Rafael Devers, 3 guys in the top 25 in strikeouts with Duran at 21 and Story in the top 5. It's just rough for the Red Sox hitters right now. Now, the final negative is obviously this Rafael Devers situation. And the way the management handled it was very poor. Not really letting him know that Bregman's coming in. When Bregman comes in, they're kind of telling him at first, you have to force it. I like to always think that people earn their position from their career. So Bregman at third base did make a lot of sense, but Devers should have had a little bit of a shot to still play third. That's why he responded the way he did by saying he's not going to DH. He eventually DH'd, and then they tried to force him to not DH anymore. And that's just a really big thing. And a really big problem, a lot of miscommunications, and that led to Devers being unhappy and the management saying, well, we're just going to trade you. And now Devers is a San Francisco Giant, and now he's willing to play anywhere. And that is something that, as a Red Sox fan, you would hate to see, and it just makes you a little bit more angry. But lucky for Boston, though, they do have a pretty good future ahead of them. First, looking at their contracts for their next 3 big long-term deals. You've got Brayan Bello, who was just signed, or Bello, whatever, just signed a 6-year, $55 million deal last season. And then Ceddanne Rafaela signed a 8-year, $50 million deal last season. And then Garrett Crochet signed a 6-year, $170 million extension this season. So there is 3 cornerstone pieces, as we talked about earlier. Garrett Crochet is your best guy on the mound this year. He's going to be the best guy on the mound for those 6 years he's there, and he's absolutely elite. Brian Bayo is one of the best. I'd say it could be one of the best younger guys, best second starting pitcher kind of guy if he can keep improving. He's looked pretty good throughout his time, and then Sedan Rafaela is looking even better now. He's a great utility man, and looks like he might even end up winning a platinum glove maybe. But then you look at more people in their future. The 2 guys is Wilyer Abreu and Carlos Narvaez. These 2 guys are going to be pieces for the Red Sox team that I would like to see the Red Sox keep. Abreu could maybe be on the list, but Abreu is an absolute great power hitter. He's a Gold Glover in the right field, and he's excellent to watch. Carlos Narvaez is so much fun to watch behind the plate. Pretty good defensively, and then he's a very good bat for them. Connor Wong having a down year, so Carlos Narvaez having the bat he is fantastic. You look at the stats, Abreu, 255 average, 13 home runs, 34 RBIs, and 803 OPS. And then Carlos Narvaez with a 270 average, 6 home runs, 23 RBI, and 795 OPS. And this was before the Sunday, June 22nd game. But then obviously everybody knows about the big, bright future of Marcelo Meyer, Christian Campbell, and the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, Roman Anthony. The 3 young guys here in Boston, they're just unbelievable. They're so fun to watch, and the minors grow into a major league player. You know, Christian Campbell started on the team in the open day roster, had a really good start to his year, and then kind of just lost his touch, and now he's back in AAA. Marcelo Meyer, the second guy to be called up, he's had a pretty decent start to his MLB tenure, and then Roman Anthony, who might be having the slower start, but I mean, if you look at his expected averages, which I'll show up on screen here, he is ready for the major leagues. So there's stuff to be excited about here as a Red Sox fan, so you shouldn't be hanging your hats about the future because it's looking bright.